Hey, English 112 students, it's Miss Williams. Just to give you a little bit more information about how to approach working on your outline. Remember, the only full paragraph that you're going to write is that introductory paragraph. For the rest of these paragraphs on the outline, you just have the bullet point, an answer in one or two words, and then textual support. So what I would do if I were you is either upload this PDF into um, Google and turn it into a Google Doc, or you can open it as a Word document if you can access Word. Um, and that way you can, work on your outline just kind of using the format that I've already put on this document. All right, so this is my outline. You've got all of those essays you can choose from. I'm going to just use an essay that we've already been um, exposed to this semester with Didion's Santa Ana Winds. Um, if this is my essay that I'm analyzing, then of course, what I want for that first quote in that first paragraph is a quote that's really going to affect my reader in an emotional way. Remember, pathos is always going to be the most powerful means of persuasion. If you can play on someone's emotions, and unfortunately, advertising does this, politicians do this. If somebody can reach you through your emotions, then they are going to be better able to convince you of their argument. It doesn't matter what reality is. It doesn't matter what statistics say. If they can reach your emotions, they're going to be able to sway you. So we want that first paragraph. We're trying to capture our readers' attention. We're trying to pull them away from everything else that they could be doing. And there's so much other stuff out there that we could be doing rather than reading an essay. But you want your reader, you want your audience to read what you have to say. So how can you capture their attention in that first sentence? It's going to be a pathos statement. So I know this essay pretty well. I've been using it and teaching it over the years. And I want something that's, going to evoke some emotion from my reader. So I'm just going to grab that quote and, whatever you guys need to do to organize this. I'm just going to make my quote texts blue. Oops, I didn't mean to do that. What am I doing? Sorry, y'all. Okay, so first sentence is my quote. All right, I've got my quote. On nights like that, Raymond Chandler once wrote about the Santa Ana. Every booze party ends in a fight. Meek little wives feel the edge of the carving knife and study their husbands' necks. Anything can happen. So I'm going to take that period away because the period goes after the parentheses. And I've got my author's last name after the quote. So now in that second sentence, I have to explain this quote. What does this quote mean? Where does it come from? You can't just leave your reader hanging. You've got to explain a little bit. So I'm going to say this is a quote from the essay by Joan Didion. So now I know this, like I said, I know this essay a little bit better than you guys will know these essays that you choose to analyze, but you're just going to explain who wrote this, tell your reader the author's name, tell them the title of the essay, and then give them a little bit of background on what this quote means in your own words. So this is a quote from the essay by Joan Didion, The Santa Ana Winds, written during her time in Los Angeles during the tumultuous era of the 1960s. Didion uses a quote from a Raymond Chandler short story. convey unpredictability, no, to convey volatile effects of the winds. All right, so, I'm basically just explaining that quote. You always have to assume your reader has no idea what you're talking about, and you're leading them through your writing sentence by sentence. You have to give them context. You have to give them background. So I simply explain that. Um, all right, so sentence 3, I'm just going to expand on my explanation a little bit more. It says, give your reader context. So Didion was a journalist during the 60s and 70s when counterculture movements in music and social issues at their most powerful. Her essay about the winds from her book. All right, so I'm just giving a little bit more context. Now, you might not really have all of this information. I'm writing about an essay that I've been teaching for many years, so I know, who Didion was, why she was writing during the time she was writing, and all that. But, look back at that essay and just try to get a better idea of why the author is writing, why this topic is important to them. Any other information that you can glean from their essay on why they are analyzing it, or why they're writing it, and why you're analyzing it is going to help your reader better understand what they're getting ready to read. That's what the first paragraph is you're setting them up to understand what the rest of your paper is going to be about. Why Sentence number 4, why is this essay important to read right now? Like in the 1960s and 70s. All right, so why is this essay important right now? Well, your essays are, probably going to be from the essays that you analyze are going to be from the last few years. So obviously, these people are writing about issues that are important for a variety of reasons. So you'll have to figure that out. And then we need a transition. So don't overthink transitions. They're just you telling your reader what's coming up next. What's coming up in your next paragraph? Well, you're going to give them a little bit more information about the author, who the audience is. Who do you think the audience is based on what the topic is and what the author is arguing? So you're just going to tell your reader, author. So you basically just tell them, what you're going to be doing in that next paragraph, a little bit of what you're going to be doing in that next paragraph. And that's really all a transition is. All right. So you write your introductory paragraph, right? If I string the blue parts of this together, then I've got a cohesive introductory paragraph. And that's really the only paragraph that you're going to write. So as long as you are following my directions for that introduction, you should probably have between 5 and 7 sentences. And you've got a solid paragraph, a solid introductory paragraph with a quote that's going to capture your reader's attention. And you've also got a good transition sentence there that's going to help your reader understand what is coming up next for them. All right, look at that beautiful paragraph, beautiful introductory paragraph. All right, so now I'm going to just show you, I'm not going to go through every main body paragraph, but let's just look at a couple of these first items. Now remember, we're not writing the rest of the paper. We're just going to answer these questions, and we're going to include some textual support. All right, so who is the author? All right, I've already told you that, but I'm going to tell you again. What stake might he or she have in writing this piece? So from reading through this, I know that the author lives in Los Angeles, and the winds impact her just as much as they seem to impact others. All right, so that this would be a good opportunity. Remember, you need at least 2 or 3 quotes per paragraph. And you'll be able to break these questions into 2 paragraphs when you're eventually done, but don't worry about that for now. So here, the author lives in Los Angeles. And the winds impact her just as much as they seem to impact others. Now I need to find a quote that's going to support that. So I look back at the essay. In the second paragraph, it says, I've neither heard nor read that a Santa Ana is due, but I know it, and almost everyone I've seen today knows it too. We know it because we feel it. Okay, I'm going to grab that. That is textual evidence that supports this statement here. I'm going to put quotation marks around it. I don't really have page numbers. I don't know that this is long. This might be 2 pages long. So I guess I do have 2 pages. So you want to always put the author's last name and then the page number. You don't put anything in front of that page number like P or PD, like you would with APA. You just put author's last name and then page 1. All right, so I've answered that question. Is this piece aimed at a particular audience, a neutral audience, persons who are already sympathetic to the author's point of view, a hostile audience? What evidence enables me to identify the target audience? Who is the target audience for this? Again, she's writing this. She wrote this in 1969, so this is really at the height of a lot of those counterculture movements during the end of the 1960s, with the feminist movement, with the anti-war movement, because Vietnam was going on, with everything that was happening socially, with race, with gender issues, with music and culture. So she's really finding this correlation between the chaos of all those changes that were kind of happening and the way that these winds wreak chaos on the areas of Southern California. So I think anyone who's living during this time, or who understands how, changes in society and even changes in the weather can impact us. I mean, look at all the kind of crisis across the world right now with earthquakes and flooding and this and that, and how those kind of impact us and really make us understand our humanity and our little place in the world, and the fact that we don't have any control. I mean, some people would argue that we have control over the weather. I would say that we really don't have control over the weather. If we did, then we would be able to change the weather, and we can't. So I think she's arguing audience is anyone who All right, so I answered that question, and then maybe I go back to the essay and find another quote. Um, this is a really long quote. You really don't want long quotes like this. I would just find a sentence that's going to support your argument. But I've got that quote there. And I'm going to put my page number, my parentheses, period goes after the parentheses. So by the time you've answered these questions and you have textual evidence to support a few of them, you're going to have at least 2 solid paragraphs, right? Same thing for the rest of these. Just remember, if you guys are doing what you need to do and supporting your arguments with the text, then you're going to have a lot of content. And if you have your quotes, then when you turn around, not next week, but the week after, when we come back from spring break, and you string all of this information together, you're going to have everything that you need, including your own perspective, your answers to these questions, and then the textual support from the essay itself. So there's really not a whole lot you're going to have to do to write the essay, except just string some things together. So that's how you approach this outline. Remember, you're not writing the full paragraphs right now, except for that intro. You are just answering questions for the rest of the main body paragraphs and finding textual evidence from your essay.